time for Wednesday's hour number 2 on Hashtag Daily K with your host, Peter Bint. Korean dramas, movies, and even lyrics. Why is the world paying attention to Korean stories?
From classics to modern masterpieces, time to dig deep into the charms of Korean literature.
On Check It Out
with Paul.
It's a Wednesday hump day. You may be struggling up that hill on the way down to the weekend, but Paul is here to help us on our journey as ever. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm always happy to be here on a hump day, on a jump day, on a pump day, on a Wednesday. Give you a little bit of brightness.
I like your shirt and t-shirt combination. Are you good with colours? Could you name these specifically? Because to me, I'd just say a kind of pink and a kind of purple. Is one of them maybe mauve or something?
Yeah, mauve would be the word I'd use.
I have
That's about as far. They say that men are terrible with colours, that women are much better.
That's a good excuse for me then. That gets me off the hook, right?
Okay, but we shouldn't conform to gender stereotypes. Work on your colours, Peter.
Okie dokie. Lovely mauve top there, Paul. I'm not sure what I'm referring to.
Not really a top.
Which
it's a t-shirt and shirt combo.
Are they both mauve?
No! They're obviously different colours.
I don't know which one's mauve, though. I'm wearing navy blue. Let's stick to that. I know
Are you
that.
sure that's navy blue?
I'm not sure
Isn't
now.
That royal blue?
Oh, my goodness, maybe it is. How's your week been, Paul?
It's been a very good week. I've been enjoying the rain and the cool breezes, and I'm in a good mood.
You've been in the paper as well, Paul, I saw on your social media, and your wife as well, side by side.
I have. Our theatre company was featured in one of the newspapers here in Korea. I have to find myself a copy today.
Oh, get your hands on it.
Get myself a paper copy.
Is it tough to do that? Because I haven't searched for a newspaper in Korea for a long time.
It used to be a lot easier.
Yeah.
But if you go to certain areas and you look at the subway station, convenience stores, places like that, you can pick them up, but they're harder to find.
You're right. I mean, it was always a bit weird in Korea, I found, compared to the UK, where you had news agents which sold the papers all the time.
Yeah.
You'd have to go to certain places here. I do know that Arirang Radio often has the papers of the day to refer to in the office.
Yeah, I checked. There wasn't a copy, so I couldn't steal it.
Oh, dear. Okay, yeah, maybe someone got to it first. We've also got today's hashtag before we get on to the text.
Yes.
Dokso, or reading as in reading a book. I like it that Korea has a kind of word for that, right?
It's good.
Yeah. You are an avid reader. What number are we on now?
I think I'm close to 270 so far.
Not bad at all. Any standout ones from this year?
So many. So many of the books we featured on this show, I have to say. Actually, the book we're featuring today has turned out to be one of my absolute favourites of the year.
I saw some tweets going back and forth with one of the translators as well, and you saying this brought you to tears?
Yeah, this book made me cry in a good way.
Okay.
These are sort of happy emotional tears.
Oh, nice. Well, that's a good segue then. What are we doing? A sci-fi one I read in your tweet.
Yeah, a really special sci-fi collection. We've got one author, 2 translators, and 4 stories.
Ooh.
So it's called I'm Waiting for You and Other Stories. 당신을 기다리고 있어. And it's by Kim Bo-young, translated by Sophie Bowman and Sung Ryu. Now, we featured Sung Ryu on the show before. Sophie Bowman, it's our first time for her.
Ooh.
And I hope it's not the last time we feature this book, because we don't have time to talk about all the stories. So today, we're going to focus on 2 of them, both translated by Bowman. One is called I'm Waiting for You, and the other is called On My Way to You. And these stories, they actually tell the same story, but from 2 different points of view. It's romantic, it's emotional, it's sci-fi, it's got a lot of space travel, and it is guaranteed to enthrall you.
I don't know if I'm mistaken, but one time when we did another sci-fi thing, it might have been that really tall tower one.
Yes.
And there are a few different points of view being told. Was it in that story? It might have been another
Yes,
one.
and that was translated by Sung Ryu.
Oh, I see. Wow. It kind of echoes that to me, but I'm sure a very different tale here.
Very different tale, very different style, but just as fun.
Okay, so Kim Bo-young, tell us a bit about the author.
Born in 1975, she made her literary debut in 2004. It was then that she won the inaugural Korean Science and Technology Creative Writing Award for her novella.
Oh.
She's gone on to win numerous other prizes, and now she's being recognized outside of Korea thanks to this and another translated collection of stories. The other one is On the Origin of Species and Other Stories, and it's translated by a regular on the show, Soren Victoria Kim Russell and Jungmin Lee Comfort. Now, what's interesting is she is both an author, but she's also worked in movies.
Oh, nice.
If you're a fan of Bong Joon-ho,
yes,
she was a script consultant, a script advisor on his movie Snowpiercer.
Love that film with Captain America starring, right?
No, Chris Evans. It wasn't actually... You see,
I thought
Peter,
it was disguised.
When an actor is in a movie, the character is not the actor, it's the person he's playing.
I thought Captain America was the actor.
No.
Chris Evans was the role. I see. She lives over in Gangwon-do province as well.
She does. She's brilliant. I'm just hoping we get more translations of her work because I'm in love. I'm in love with her work.
And the translator, you said Sophie Bowman has taken the helm for these two stories that we're featuring today.
Yes, and the first time for us featuring her, she studied social anthropology and Korean studies at SOAS University in London. She went on to do an MA in Korean literature at Ewha Women's University.
Oh.
She's currently doing her PhD at the University of Toronto. And she's had numerous short story translations published in various magazines, a lot of them available online for free, so you can check out her other work.
Cool.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what she does next, because her translations in this book are amazing.
Great.
And then we have Sung Liu. This is the third time for us featuring her this year. We looked at Bae Myung-hoon's Tower, which you mentioned before, Chae Eun-young's Shoko's Smile, and now she's translating two of the stories in this book too. They're both brilliant translators. They've both got their own particular style, and they both capture the spirit of Kim Bo-young's work.
And they worked on like two each here, did they take?
Yes. So we're looking at two of the stories happen in one sort of world, one sort of situation. Two of them happen in another. So it's like these two universes colliding in this collection.
And each translator takes control of one world kind of thing?
Pretty much, yeah.
Oh, nice. So we're going to start off with... what, the I'm Waiting for You story?
Yes, I'm Waiting for You. This happens in the middle of the story when the main character, the man, he's trying to meet up with the woman he loves, and he's trying to work out when she's going to arrive, and nothing is quite working out at all. I went to the port in time for the day you were supposed to arrive. I thought that if a team of bandits or vigilantes showed up, I'd be killed in an instant, but no one came. In the meantime, there must have been a flood or something, because the port was covered in soil and had become a wild plain. On the soil there was mugwort and horseweed growing lush and green. I was reminded of the time I went to the district office to complain about how they hadn't come to do repair work fast enough after a flood in my old village. I hadn't realized before that there was a small stream running right through the middle of the port. I guess the water had been rerouted to the sea from a pump or something until then. The waiting room was covered with creeping vines and looked like a small mound. The windows had all been broken or blown out and were just empty frames. But despite all that, there were still biscuit wrappers littered around and traces of where we'd made meals there 5 years ago. I had to laugh. You didn't come. I waited all through the night and all of the next day, but you didn't come. I lay in the field and watched the stars come out and then fade again. I watched the stars floating past the earth. I imagined that I was on a gigantic boat, which was kind of true. It's all right, I thought. If it's a journey that takes about an hour, it wouldn't be strange to be 10 minutes late. With a 10-year journey, it'd be normal enough to be a year late. I didn't wait a whole year, but I did wait 4 months and 3 days. I slept in the ship and made meals out of soil with the electric cookpot. You didn't come. But for some reason I wasn't sad. Well, I wasn't happy either. Just serene. It felt like a completely inevitable and natural turn of events. If you had appeared from between the tall reeds, I probably would have said something like, "Wow, who knew such a preposterous thing could really happen? It's too weird. You'll have to go back and come out again a bit later."
And that seems to be what the whole reading was about. Nur saying, waiting can be tiring. I don't like it. If you're not a patient person, it can be one of the most annoying things in the world.
But this guy is really patient. Got Sophie saying, oh, the writer's having bad experiences in the past, just nostalgic over what's happening with the life. She's tired of waiting for uncertainty. Time just stood still without any development, making the writer more edgy. Ooh, interesting talking about time standing still, because we're going to be doing a little bit of time travel, but not in the way you think.
Wow, okay. And Rao's saying, is this the eternal struggle that we're hearing about here? Well, again, to do with time, I don't know. It was a really kind of nice way to think of it from his point of view. You know, many might have been terribly disappointed, but he said it felt almost natural that the person didn't turn up.
Well, he's been through a lot at this point.
Okay.
And I should explain what's going on. So this first story is told through a series of letters sent by a man to the woman he's planning to marry.
Okay.
So this woman, his fiancée, is traveling from Alpha Centauri to Earth to their wedding.
Okay.
And it's going to take her 4 years and 6 months.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to seem quicker for her because she's going to be traveling at the speed of light.
Okay.
So when you travel at the speed of light, it's going to take you just a couple of months, but years have passed. So he decides to do the same thing. He's going to catch a ride on a ship to shorten the time he has to wait for her.
Oh.
So therefore, you know, he'll go at light speed and then travel for that 4 years, 6 months, but it'll only seem like a couple of months to him.
And then come back to Earth.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it sounds like a really good plan, but then things get complicated.
Oh.
He gets a message from her saying her journey has been delayed, so she's going to arrive a couple of months late. He decides to change ships so he can meet her at that later date, but then the captain makes a mistake and tells him it's going to take an extra 3 years.
Oh no, that's a long time.
Yeah, but then there's another delay on her side. She has to change ships because of an accident, and she's going to be with him in 11 years.
Oh wow, it's like the London transport system. Everything's going wrong.
Yeah, and so basically they keep on missing each other. And his letters span the time of his waiting. So he arrives on Earth. He finds Earth in a state of emergency. There's been some serious goings on.
Oh, no.
Career is pretty much devastated. He manages to get a tiny spaceship so he can travel at the speed of light and arrive back on Earth in the future to sort of skip time again. And he keeps on doing that. He has an encounter with a passenger ship filled with crazed passengers, a captain who laughs at the letters that he's been writing and tries to strangle him.
Oh, dear.
But most of the time he's alone, and he's suffering months and years of solitary confinement in his ship, or he's wandering the wastelands of Korea trying to work out what's happened.
Wow.
And then finally, after his ship crashes, he finds himself walking into the city, and then he comes upon the church where they were meant to get married.
Wow, what an interesting tale, yeah. And through a few books, I've come to realise, you know, it's complicated. I don't understand the science, but yeah, when you travel so fast, time passes more quickly for you,
yes,
right?
So if you've seen Interstellar, you'll see exactly that happening, where there are different ways for time to pass.
Sure, and that's like technically true, and I imagined it would be all lovely, but it seems like there's lots of complications if you were doing that in the future.
There are.
Walking into the church where they were supposed to get married, I'm guessing it might get emotional. Here's our second reading.
I froze on the spot. The church we had arranged to get married in was standing there before my eyes. I was so taken aback. All I could do was gaze at the surroundings. The church was the only building still standing, alone in the middle of a city of ruins, as if to say that all those hundreds of years of time were nothing, as though laughing off all those typhoons, the rains and snow and wars, as though they were no match for it, as though that one building had ridden a completely different stream of time. It was shabby and worn down, and one corner of the roof had caved in, but it stood steadfast. I went up the stairs and stroked the door frame that was darkened with age. I had to touch it because I thought I might still be fantasizing. It was just then I thought of you as you had stroked the door frame of the house in the countryside. I thought of what you had said. Buildings people go in and out of stay standing. Homes where someone opens and closes the doors and airs the place out, where they unfold bedding and lie down to sleep and wake up, where they light the stove and cook a meal, where they sweep the dust and wipe up the water. Only then did I recall your letter. I listened to it over and over at least 50 times. How could I not have thought of it until now? What was it that you had said at the end? If you're not there at the port. Some card-type things dropped from the doorpost. It seemed they were so old that the fabric cords they were pinned up by had snapped. I picked them up. They were old and mildewed, but I could tell what they were. They were the leather frames on lanyards that I'd given to my friends. With trembling hands, I took out the photographs inside. Behind the first photo I took that day, there was a photo that looked as though it had been taken at the church on what was supposed to be our wedding day. It looked as though they'd kept coming even after that too. There were still more photos taken with their lovers or children. There was also a photograph of an old man lying on a bed making a victory sign at the camera with his fingers. Written on the back was, "I'm off first, punk." If you're not there at the port, you whisper in my ear, I'll go to the wedding venue. Even if I'm on my own, I can go and play make-believe.
So, has he missed his wedding and has he missed his lover? Has his lover been there as well? Are there messages from her?
Well, it seems as if his friends have met up on the wedding date to find him not there, but then they've left messages throughout their lives.
Wow,
They're
and then
dead
they
and gone.
passed away. Oh.
But there are other messages, and some messages that seem 100 years old, some decades old, some years old, and some that could have been written a few days or a few weeks ago.
Oh.
And they all say a similar sort of thing. I'm right here.
Oh.
I dropped by again. I'm waiting for you.
Like, really? Or is this kind of spiritually?
Well, now we move to the second story.
Oh, wow. That was a brilliant tale. Okay.
There's a cliffhanger of an ending. But don't worry, because this second story, On My Way to You, the companion piece, is told in a series of letters from the woman to the man.
So we get that side of the story.
Yes. So we learn about her struggles, how she almost died when her ship was damaged, how she was subjected to awful conditions and became a refugee, how she was on the passenger ship he encountered but was stuck working in the belly of the craft, how she saw his little spacecraft in the snow and didn't realize it was him.
Goodness, all these missed opportunities, it seems.
Yeah, and so this passenger ship that she was stuck on, it was a way of survival, it started making circular trips, travelling at the speed of light and then stopping back at Earth to see how things had changed. And each time when they landed, she went to the church and she left a message again and again and again. And then, in her final letter, she finds his crashed spacecraft and she starts to follow a set of footprints.
Oh, this time travel business is mind-warping, isn't it? I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm so curious, and I hope it's not too sad. Yeah, and Rao saying, wow, because of that, hundreds of years do make sense. Yeah, it is hard to wrap your mind around, but I'm guessing in the future there will be a day when we can travel like this. It'll be unbelievable.
Well, not us. We'll be long gone.
Hopefully they can come back and get us and take us with them.
I'm in London.
I'm in Australia.
Tokyo.
The Philippines.
Finland.
Indonesia.
New York.
Arirang Radio.
Now live in Seoul.
What if, just maybe on the off chance, if a person's personality, what made them a person, could be saved on a computer? If that input data could be called a human personality, although there may be no such thing as a soul, if a person's mind could be contained and preserved in some form or another within the data, in that case, couldn't such data be seen as that person's personality? Or fragments of it at the very least? You know, there's that saying, people don't really die as long as we remember them. If we remember someone, they live life along with us. So if somehow data could be a personality, then then the you in my memory is a personality too. It's you, if that's true. If that's true, then you're living with me now because I remember you. You're with me as informational data in the biocomputer of my brain. You're alive as long as I am. That's why I want to keep living. To make you live. To keep you, who I love most in all the world, alive. Because the evidence and traces of you having existed in the world are all in me. Because I'm what's left of you. Thank you, my love. I whisper as I open my eyes in the morning. I whisper it as I fall asleep at night too. I whisper it to the you I carry within me. Thank you for being with me. Thank you for giving me this reason to live. You're keeping me alive. Wherever you are now, whether you're dead, living, traveling somewhere in wide open space.
Oh, that's very philosophical. As long as you remember someone, they're still alive. I
Yeah.
like that. But I want like hard cold facts. Are they going to meet? Is this their love just in their heads and hearts?
My lips are sealed. Not saying anything. You got to buy the book. You got to read the book, Peter.
So there's two other stories that we haven't touched upon that are kind of linked as well.
But not to these two.
Okay.
So these two stories are linked. Two other stories are linked together. But these two stories, oh my goodness, I was in tears. I was
does sound
feeling so
amazing.
emotional. I absolutely loved it. And I'm so impressed with Sophie Bowman's translation. Absolutely brilliant, capturing that feeling of Kim Bo-young. I highly, highly recommend this collection because it's just, I don't know, it's mesmerizing. And I love science fiction.
Yeah.
I love romance as well, but it's not often that the two work together so beautifully.
Yeah.
And the surprising thing is, this is actually the first romance that Kim Bo-young had written.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
There's a really, really interesting story. There's some author's notes and translator's notes in the books. And in the author's notes, she talks about an old friend who got into contact with her and was a little bit embarrassed and said, would you mind writing a story for me to give as a wedding proposal gift to my fiancé?
What an interesting gift idea.
Yeah, and he didn't want to be rude. He didn't want to bother her, and she found it a little bit odd. But
Yes.
she thought, okay, you're going to pay me for it, so why not? I'll do it.
Okay.
And so she wrote it for one person to read out loud and one person to listen to.
This story?
Yeah.
Wow.
And she asked for a song. She said, what song sort of, sings to you when it comes to your relationship? And she listened to that song on repeat as she wrote the story.
Wow.
And as she was writing it was getting a little bit long.
Sure.
So she took some bits out and she thought, this is a wedding proposal gift. What if I write a sequel for their first anniversary?
Oh.
And so, great, I'm going to do that. However, she couldn't finish it in time.
Oh.
And the first anniversary passed. And then she thought, well, maybe it'll be good for the birth of their first baby. Then they had the baby and she hadn't finished the story. She eventually, just like in I'm Waiting for You, they kept missing the dates, kept missing the connections. She managed to deliver it to them when their daughter was 2 years old.
Oh.
As this second gift. And I think it's just so beautiful that she did that for her old friend, that she was, giving this proposal gift in this way.
Yes.
And I think what a beautiful thing to have as a couple. And then to be able to say to your daughter when she's old enough to read this kind of stuff, this was written for mum and dad.
Yeah, that's amazing as well. I'm sure that they agreed that these would be published as stories with the general public, not just a personal gift. That's such a wonderful origin story to these tales.
Yeah, it really is. And so I'm feeling really good this week. The hashtag is reading. What books do you like? This week, this is my favorite book. I'm sure I'll have another favourite book next week, but this week I'm in love with this book. I'm in love with these stories.
I want them to make this into a movie.
I thought exactly the same thing. I don't understand why this has not been made into a movie, because it is perfect for it.
Yeah, one of those emotional interstellar-like films, I think. Yeah, with a couple involved, that would be a brilliant little twist. Because Korean movies are kind of heading in that direction, outer space and stuff. We saw, what was it, Space Sweepers and other things.
Yeah, I think the Korean mainstream is embracing science fiction more and more and more. It's always been there, but a little bit on the margins. But with the success of Snowpiercer and other movies like that, people are going, yeah, we want more of this.
Yeah, Ralph from Argentina saying interstellar movie, absolutely love it, and saying the 3-year delay, well, that's like the Argentinian mail service.
We've got Silver Granny and her grumpy gnome saying, wouldn't all this time jumping do something to your aging process? He missed his own life. Well, it's interesting. You age slower because you're traveling faster, which means all your friends get older before you. So, yeah, it does mess things up.
Yeah, I think it's like scientifically proven. Even going on a plane means you age. It's very small differences, but you age infinitely less than when you're on Earth. And then there are all sorts of other associated problems, I think, with being in low gravity with your muscles and stuff. But aging-wise, I think, yeah, that's been proven. We've also got Tropical saying long distance and travel relationships, tough to make them work on Earth, much less this interstellar romance and tragic story of public transport failure.
Very true. And I've got Princess Mama Wolf summing it up. In other words, don't mess with time travel.
Yeah, I think it's best left alone. But you can see with all these people now, these rich and famous people wanting to travel to space, we're just going to keep being curious and go further and further, right?
Yeah.
This is going to be an issue. If you could go to Mars and back, you are going to be much younger than all your friends and family. That'd be such a difficult decision to make, I think.
It's really tough, but don't worry, you won't have to make it. You'll be long dead.
Thank you.
Darcy Ann saying, oh my gosh, I can't follow this. Tough to take the waiting, or waiting says to me, where are you? I can't. And Sophie saying, waiting is painstaking. I know how it feels. It's like the COVID pandemic situation. Waiting is like torture to the soul. It's killing you bit by bit, killing me softly. Oh, I'm not waiting for Taeyong anymore.
Yana from Malaysia got on board, and also Derek. I wonder if you heard in the first part, he bought the book, The Tales from the Monk.
I saw the picture on screen. Yeah, fantastic. I hope you enjoy it.
Yes. Tell us what you think, Derek. And Yana says, this week I've finished 2 books. I delayed 7 Years of Darkness last week, and I finished I Hear Your Voice. And this week I'm taking My Brilliant Life by Kim Arirang.
Oh, I love that book too. That was one of my other favourites.
Yeah, and these novels recommended by Paul makes me realise again how awesome it is summarising this literature. Thank you for your brilliant work.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm glad I'm inspiring you to read. Keep reading, keep telling us what you're reading. It's wonderful.
Fantastic. Thanks to everyone involved with the translation. Bit short on time, so Paul, I'll send you out and we'll see you next Wednesday.
I'll be back again.
You can listen to Check It Out with Paul Matthews on Arirang Radio's #DailyK every Wednesday from 10 a.m. KST.